the suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
Wheaties! I got weed pots!
And now for our interview of the week, presented by our friends at Seed Money Consulting. Hey y'all, it's me, Kip. We're coming to y'all we're over here in West Aurora from the brand new location of Spinelli's Market. Yep, that same Spinelli's that's been a staple in the Park Hill community and a bright new face in Congress Park is opening up their third iteration at the 21 Fitzsimmons apartment complex. We're stoked to talk with Cece Jones and Jake, I'm going to fuck it up, Reiderer.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah.
It's that second one? Yeah. Which one?
Like
That's the second one.
Like Reiderer.
Yeah, fuck that up.
Yeah,
it's all right, Eve, leave it in there. We're going to roll with it.
Yep.
Me and Eve, we got Eve on the ones and twos. Before we dive into anything, how are we, Eve?
Fantastic.
Y'all, thank you so much, Jake and Cece, for joining me today. How are you?
We're great.
We're good. We're a little tired, but we're good.
We slept really good yesterday for the first time in a little while.
Hey, look at that. Every now and then you can kind of put your head down and be proud of the work you did that day. It makes it a little easier to close your eyes and sleep through the night.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, it looks like the Spinelli East location is starting to kind of really show its personality. You opened your doors just this past Monday, and you're getting prepared for the Chef Showdown, your grand opening party this coming Sunday on June 9th. We like to start every episode the same way. We'll dive into all the fucking market shit, but we want to just get to know you first. So, are you a transplant or native to Colorado? Who wants to answer the question first?
We're both natives.
Oh, get the hell out of here, really? Y'all are unicorns.
Yeah, there's just a couple of us left, and we're two of them.
I grew up from 1 to 8, about 3 blocks from Spinelli's. And then we moved to Boulder. And
I grew up in the Skyland neighborhood, just off of off the golf course in City Park on Josephine Street. And Spinelli's was my first job at 15.
Holy cow. It's all come from full circle. So we don't get to ask this question a lot because, like you said, there's very few natives left. But what hospital were y'all born in?
Rose Medical Center.
Nice.
my parents were hippies, so I was born at Denver Birth Center, where they had midwives.
Okay. Hey, I thought you were going to say a bathtub or in a tent at a dead show. So, I mean, using at least somebody to be your spotter. Yeah. You still had a spotter.
That's true.
I mean, is that the term we're looking for? Thanks, Eve. Okay, so y'all stuck around. Y'all have obviously seen the evolution of Denver and Colorado. Did y'all ever have the want to get the hell out, or did y'all get out there, go see the world, and be like, no, Colorado is in fact the cream of the crop? How'd it work out for y'all that landed you back making all these poor decisions sitting with me?
Yeah. Well, I left for college, and after college I was a dancer, and I left again. I came back to Denver and then left again to go dance in Chicago, New York, and then I lived in California for a bit while I worked for Hillstone Restaurant Group. And I feel like Colorado is a really special place, and I didn't want to miss out on what was going to be growth of this beautiful, quiet cow town.
I mean, it really was. It was meat, potatoes, and if you look at just from when the baseball team got here almost 30 years ago, the town is drastically different. Not only this area where we sit today with new high-rises and a very large medical complex behind us that's revolutionary for the region, but at the same time, where you grew up as well, the Park Hill neighborhood and everything has shifted and changed. I mean, I'm going to pick your brain about that now. Do we like it more now that it's a little bit more densely compact to the other in under half an hour?
Yeah, I think my family had this thing where we would only go any place that took us 10 minutes, and everything took 10 minutes. Even to get out south took 10 minutes somehow, and everything was quick to get to. Yes, traffic is probably my only problem with our growth. I think our growth means better food options and more sophisticated palates and the ability for something like Spinelli's to grow because of how many people have moved here. And as business owners, we really see the value of the growth of the city.
Jake, I mean, you moved up to Boulder at a young age, well before the 29th Street Mall had a Chick-fil-A and the hateful chicken, which we definitely don't support. If you're going to eat local chicken, definitely check out Birdcall. But at the same time, how about you? Did you're like, I got to get out of the Boulder bubble for a little while and then found your way back home? What was your course of action that led you into the hospitality industry in Colorado?
My first job was at Boulder Country Club when I was 14, and I did that for 3 years, and I think just fell in love with the speed of it and also the quick money, like so many people in hospitality. And then I studied fashion design in college out in Ohio, which doesn't...
That sounds oxymoronic.
One would think, right? So Kent State had a great fashion program, and I wanted to be a fashion designer. And once I sort of really put my nose to the grindstone in school, realized that didn't come with people interaction. It was a whole lot of time at a desk, like coming up with creativity that you didn't get to necessarily share with anybody else. So I got a job at a bar and stopped going to class, and here we are 20 however many years later.
Yeah, don't date yourself, but I know both of those paths brutally well. First job was in a restaurant, small family Italian, and then the next summer I worked at a country club until they fired me a couple of years later for throwing a balloon of urine at a snot-nosed little kid. I mean, fucking sometimes they deserve it. And his dad was a pro baseball player, so they had a little more clout than the Mississippi Wilsons. So they're like, yeah, we got to fire your son. But, I mean, the hospitality industry not only kind of welcomes everybody, but it's also a wonderful microcosm of our country in that, people come from different walks of life and have different reasons for being here. And then, going from RISD or what, FIDE, I don't know all the abbreviations, but being like, no, this is my niche. This is where I'm passionate and happy about, instead of behind a drawing desk is pretty cool.
I think, too, the restaurant hospitality industry provides a refuge for people with mental illness. And I'm somebody who has bipolar disorder and have, fought with that until I was diagnosed, and then, have had a lot of progress, but more just a lot of victories in that battle. But in a world where it is like clock in and clock out, say you're ADHD, maybe you don't fit in that space. Mm-hmm. Or if you're hyper creative but you can't, fit into the A type that so many college courses need of you, hospitality really gives people a way to find they say family, but find a culture that makes sense to them and hours that make sense to them, and that just really resonated for me.
No, I couldn't agree more on at least a few of those cents, and it's that maybe I couldn't sit still in class. I couldn't do the standardized test because my focus wasn't there. Also, I'm dyslexic as the day is young. So working in the back of house or in the front of the house where you kind of use your hands, you're on the go, it suits others maybe more so than, some other folks, and so it's kind of nice that there is an industry or, a community that one can find no matter the route they take. Y'all have taken a pretty interesting route. Cece, you and I met just through the restaurant industry, both you working and me trying to cover it. And I use the bunny ears because I'm not sure exactly what I cover, but I do whatever I do. And then Jake, you and I, we actually collabed not 2 years ago, and that was our first time getting to know each other when y'all were doing Open Deli. But if I was to fast forward the conversation a little bit from navigating and finding your place in the hospitality industry, how did we find ourselves joining the Spinelli's family? I mean, it feels like maybe in the last 2 years, Cece,
Yeah.
We were goofing off with the Frosca group at least 2.5 years ago.
Totally.
So how did y'all find yourselves like this was the new home and what is obviously flourishing, but y'all knew that this was something y'all wanted to do?
Yeah, I think a happy accident, a joyful, lucky sort of fall into our laps. We sold our condo with the intention of opening our own restaurant, and the opening of our restaurant out of Open, which was the sandwich shop that Jake opened, we needed a liquor license. We were figuring out how to draw more business in. We wanted to find the right place. And I took about 6 months off of work, and Jake allowed me to do that. And I sat at home, and I only did what I wanted to do every single day.
Hell yeah.
And that was really cool. I'd never had that experience of only doing what I wanted to do. And that could have been reading a book or sitting in the yard or whatever. And one day I woke up and I said, I think I want to go get a job at the wine store on 23rd, which is just across the alley from current 35-year-old Spinelli's Market and 23rd and Dexter. And I walked up in my dress and I said, I'd like to work. And he said, you're hired. And it turns out that's the person that is now my today business partner. That person is John Matsuris, and he opened a liquor store 2 years ago-ish, and I was able to work with him for about 3 months when he came to me and said, don't open a grocery store, or don't open a restaurant, or don't do anything, just buy into Spinelli's. And I was like, oh, really? Are you sure? And so that turned into what it is now.
We really shifted, I think. Sorry to interrupt.
Please.
From, hey, we want to open a restaurant to maybe it's a market. Because part of what we were trying to get away from with restaurants was the really late night hours and all the drugs and alcohol use. Because so much of restaurants is about that, right? People who aren't being treated for their mental health stuff tend to find ways to treat themselves. And so oftentimes that ends up in self-destructive manners. And for us, for me, that coming up on 25 years in that industry, whether it was self-destructive for me or just watching other people do it, we said, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to be late night. So maybe we should open a market, right?
Yeah.
No.
Ish.
All right, disagree.
Bless the souls at the hospital, but bless them in the restaurant industry as well. It just it wears you down in more ways than one. But it seems like y'all have found y'all's happy place with, Spinelli's.
Yeah, I think to elaborate a little further, that I want to build community, and I haven't found that since I left the dance community. And the ability to raise young people into a profession or into a really great hobby. But this has done something really special, feeding people like this, where it's sort of base level necessities. I didn't know that this is something that I needed to sort of fill up my cup. And whether it's the little kids that are learning commerce that walk up by themselves, because we have an account system at Spinelli's that's very similar to the country clubs the two of you worked at as kids.
With an account number?
Exactly.
1109. What was yours?
Oh, I worked there. I didn't go.
You didn't have one? I was ours it was Mississippi. It wasn't that bougie. They were like, hey, can my son work at the pool? And they were like, yeah, but...
No, the members couldn't work at this country club.
You were in like...
I was the help.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, I didn't know. I've never been to a Boulder country club, so I was thinking it was going to be crunchy granola. Oh, you're talking about like that old money where it's like those $7 million homes tucked away.
The founder of Crocs and his family went there.
I forget that Crocs is there until I see 77 ads on my social media that they're hiring. Yep. And I'm like, I forget y'all are in Lafayette. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Colorado's built a lot of cool stuff. There's space for it.
But no, you continue on. I'm sorry.
So I think it's beautiful being able to see the kids learn commerce through a system of accounts, or the cash that they bring, or the credit cards on file that we keep, or if they've got to they've got to make it work. So they only have $5 and they have 10 things in their hands, and things are way more expensive than they were when we were kids. And so it's really joyful to see them in our space learning to use money and say please and thank you and hello and excuse me, because you're teaching them in many ways. You're teaching them commerce, and you're teaching them manners, and you're teaching them a lot, because we're an extension of their family, essentially. I see the same people every single day at both markets, and when I haven't been there in a while, it's clear. I'm like, I haven't seen you, and they're like, well, we've been here, you haven't been here, which is really sweet. And then we've got the teens that we get to hire and give a job to and teach how to clean and wipe a counter and mop a floor properly. I've got kids who can't even sweep. It's wild, but we get to teach them how to be on time and how to have accountability. And so then there's that layer of community building. And then I've got the adults that are coming for dinner every single night and are just so grateful, who had babies, or are, especially in our neighborhood in Park Hill, who are new parents who need us to make dinner for them regularly.
I mean, those grab and go, slap.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're so good, and they're so delicious, and they're priced so well, and they're bountiful. And the same person that's been making our lasagna entrees for 35 years is still with us at 78. And her...
God damn, let them retire, y'all.
I know. And then
they're like, no, I just have this bechamel I'm almost finished with. It's like a growing sourdough.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, I can't let this go yet. I've almost perfected it.
She's a trip, but she loves it and it's her life. And then we've got this layer of retirees that we employ, including, she's not a retiree, but so our other part-time staff is retired, and for us to have a space for them to retire and feel comfortable, to check people out, to be present for, to provide a supplement to their Social Security, and it's great because then I've got a young staff that wants to pick up the 24 packs of Coke, and then an older staff that's just meticulous in their dusting and their organizing of the space. So we're from the bottom up, a really beautiful community build. Every year we do a grocery give back where we give money from the grocery to schools every day. Once a week during the fall, we'll give each school in the neighboring area an opportunity to come and shop, and then we give proceeds back to the school. There's just a lot that I think for me is important in community building. It's the most important thing for me to have fresh produce, to have real food that people can feel really comfortable having every single day.
Yeah, and y'all have fostered relationships. Spinelli's, for 30 plus years, as you mentioned earlier, in that Park Hill neighborhood, and it's unbelievably quaint. It reminds me of like Beaver Cleaver. Like there's a park catty corner to that deli, and all like people are riding their bikes and all of that. It's Mayberry's Andy Griffith. But no, you're exactly right, and it feels it's almost come full circle, as that was your first job, and I won't speak to 14 or 15-year-old Cece, but you get to kind of like do what those did for you back in the day. You probably had great manners, as you've been always carrying yourself, as an upright standing human.
Really
but at the same time, you may have learned, whether it's working back a house or the proper way to sleep or sweep or whatever it may be, running time cards. It kind of fosters that whole responsibility aspect. And like you said, filling the cup, like when you feel like I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to teach this to a younger generation and provide kind of a haven for the elderly community in our neighborhood, because oftentimes those are the two scenes that are often overlooked, especially when it comes to like subsidies and things of that nature, like you were talking about supplementing Social Security. And we see in a lot of states where kids maybe have lunch debts that go, where they are embarrassed in the school, and some states refuse summertime meals. So seeing y'all kind of embrace that, let's remain small, local, community-driven market is wonderful. And it's, it's few and far between these days. But since y'all have joined the family, y'all have opened a location in Congress Park, and here we are on week one getting ready for the grand opening ceremonies this weekend at Spinelli's East. Before I dive into the event itself, how big of a bitch was it opening 2 locations in the last 2 years? 3 years.
9 months.
9 months, yeah. I was giving great, because it takes a little longer before you can actually open them, huh? Or did y'all jump on Congress Park quickly? How'd that go about?
So they approached us last year about right now. So about maybe May of last year instead of June, but just about now. And we walked toward an October 31st purchase. We wanted to go faster. They wanted to go faster. But, as we learn this business and understand what we're working toward, it turned out to be a much slower process and okay for us, and okay to be slow.
Rushed, into
to buy something. Yeah, no way, especially spending that much money. So I feel like it was wonderful and exciting, and then we took 30 days to remodel Congress Park, and that was a pressure cooker and really difficult.
Especially with permits and construction, like we see people just trying to get their first restaurant's doors open, which these would have been headaches you obviously know, but a lot of folks that are listening to this know as well. Trying to do the turn and burn in 30 days is like trying to, get oil from a water well. Sorry, I think that's a Southern country song. I can't remember, but
Jake was in charge of most of as our GC. At some point, at some point in the middle, he goes, "I just want to remind you, I'm not a general contractor."
Yeah, what the fuck?
Because I was like, I think we need to go faster on this and this, and he was like, "What are you asking from me right now?" It was totally insane. But how was it for you as the
how was it for you, Jake? As you shake your head in disbelief.
We figured it out. We did a lot of things that we shouldn't have done, but in 30 days, we took it down to the concrete and up to the rafters and changed everything in the middle. So we didn't hire a GC because no GC was available as quick as we needed them. So we hired people we knew, and we just hustled through it, and we put our staff to work, and I learned how to use an angle grinder in a way that I didn't know before. And
I didn't know you were a handyman as well.
Yeah, but I think end of the day, like when we opened Open Sandwiches, someone recommended that we read a book called The Lean Startup. And the idea behind The Lean Startup is you can put a lot of time and energy and money into research of a product before it gets out in the market. You can spend a year workshopping and researching and R&D on this amazing product, and then you put it out in the market and no one wants it, and you've wasted that time and that money. So instead, get the scaffolding of what you're going to do together, put it in the market, and let the market determine what's going to happen. And we tried to do that at Congress Park, and I think we really had pretty good success. It meant that we were able to open a market and take it down to the concrete and up to the studs, and redo everything for much less money than a Marzix would have done if they were building one, right? And it meant that we could be open from signing the lease to open in about just under 3 months. So then we opened our doors and people came in and they said, what is this crap? We don't want this crap, right? I was like, all right, well, we need to change our product mix because this neighborhood is very different than Park Hill. There's a lot of people who live in apartments. But I think that whole process, and similarly with this process, we really lean into this lean startup model of let's get it up and running, and then we'll make the adjustments. Otherwise, we're going to be spending
being fluid. Is it easier? And obviously, you've come from fine dining and restaurant scenes as well. The Hillstone thing. We'll talk about that Caesar salad at the end. But at the same time, it's oftentimes a little bit more rigid. It's not as easy to kind of pivot a menu where you've printed and laminated 20 plus, options. And it's no one's buying the chicken fried steak. Whereas when you're doing it with the market, is it as easy as checking inventory and being we're moving fresh produce. We're not moving as many of the frozen, dinners. Let's kind of shift ours to a more, a ready-made lasagna, or the ready-made lasagna does this and that. Was it easy in that net? I guess.
Well, I think the pandemic taught us so much because we probably had to pivot, especially right at the beginning, 3 and 4 times. So as we were preparing for no dining inside and just takeout, how did we pivot there? Jake came forward with a really beautiful plan while he was at Postino, and they were selling their themselves to apartment complexes like this one, where they would come in, they would deliver to you, and you'd have the option of ordering from that restaurant for that night on a Wednesday, let's say. And so we even took that both at Uncle and Hop Alley. We took that on, and we started delivering out. And then it was just takeout during the season, which was a madhouse at Uncle. And then we were dining out, right? The first night, I'll tell you this, the first night I had a room full of people waiting for their food. We were about an hour and a half behind. I stopped answering the phone. Tommy walks in and was like, what's going on? And I was like, well, you can see. It was crazy. We probably did one of our biggest days and just take out on that first day, which was wild. But more importantly, and then you dine outside. And so you're popping up tents and you're putting up tables every single day. The staff was putting up tables and popping up tents every day in the street, and then the street permit, and then we were selling wine to go because you could. And how many times did we pivot just so that we could pay the rent or take care of our labor? It was such a big deal, and I didn't even own it, and I really felt so passionate to help this person, my boss, who I adore, we all do, I'm certain of it, really help him see through. And so that pivot, when we started reading Lean Startup, it resonated so hard because we were already pivoting. And it was okay, we know how to do this. Let's just use market research and let's just make the changes immediately.
Well, then let's talk a little bit about number 3, because as you alluded to, Tommy Lee, and we won't name drop him too much because he gets glazed enough on this podcast. He's a friend of the program. We love Rachel, Case, the whole fam. But he will be participating in the grand opening festivities of Spinelli's East this weekend. But the lean startup process for Spinelli's East, obviously, y'all have got the blueprint kind of set in stone as figure it out, kind of be fluid, let yourselves create that flexibility so you can see what this community is going to be receptive to. What are we most excited about with the new location here at 21 Fitzsimmons, located right behind the Children's and University Hospital? Is that what we call it? Do we call it just Anschutz?
Anschutz Medical Campus.
Medical.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about?
I think we'll see what happens, right? We may have to pivot, but
That's the name of the game.
I foresee, I'm guessing, my bet, right, my wager is that there's going to be a lot of need for grab and go, not just like take and bake or, heat and eat entrees, but like sandwiches that are already ready and salads for the nurse or the doctor who gets 15 minutes between patients. They can't wait 20 minutes for like a deli sandwich to be made for them. So can we have a great product for them to just walk in, grab, check out, and go back to work? I think too, having just based on the past 2 days of our soft opening, having the proximity to 800 units that have really been starved for any kind of like connective retail, by which I mean like they can walk in and someone knows their name, beyond like the Cedar Creek pub, which is great over there. And
being known by name at the pub is also a very fickle bitch, coming from someone that drinks too much.
So, but to be able to walk in and grab, say, a sandwich a couple days a week and be like, hey, what's up? Even if they don't know your name, but they recognize you, right? Like that is part of what this community really craves and hasn't had. They haven't been able to create that critical mass of customers in order to draw something like this in. So I feel like we're at the perfect time to where they're pretty full and the hospital is cranking and we can sort of just come in and feed that niche.
I mean, I think y'all are in a perfect location. I've obviously been hanging out here because I will be participating, not in the cooking aspect, but just goofing off with y'all two, the chefs, and our judges for the Chef Showdown this weekend. Dude, the foot traffic is crazy over here. Y'all have people that are just doing laps on the phone, like taking some folks may have the full hour as it's summertime schools, but they're coming in, they're grabbing a sandwich, they're grabbing a pop, and they're on the road again. Like, y'all are going to thrive, especially when, like you said, like that fluidity, finding out exactly like, oh, they want more cold cuts and the Italian salads that are pre-batch you can eat if you're not a bread folk. Like, it's going to thrive beautifully. And then you're right here next to a Hody as well. So even if you just need toothpaste, Advil, I almost said Adderall, but toothpaste, Advil, the basic necessities, y'all are kind of that one-stop bodega shop as well. So that's a really nice little addition. Let's talk a little bit about this weekend and what we can expect for the Chef Showdown. We have Chase Devitt from, obviously y'all know he slays it at Boychek right down the street, their new iteration that came out of Boulder. And then he also has the Denver Brider downtown, I almost called it the Brider, going up against Tommy Lee. Name was on the menu that I was trying to compete with. Shout out to Chef Amos and Jess. But, the Lee sandwich. But we're going to have a little fun food competition. For those that are like, well, shit, I don't have anything to do this Sunday. What can we expect for the grand opening festivities? Obviously, it's free to come down and join. And if you do buy snacks from Spinelli's day of, 50% of proceeds go to supporting the Children's Hospital Foundation. I'll let you speak to that. But what can we expect in all of the festivities this weekend?
Yeah, it's a really exciting day, 2 to 5 p.m. on Sunday. And we will be feeding everybody between our vendors coming out to share what they put on our shelves, between peanut butter and pickles, pastas, and cheese curds, chocolate milk, and that'll be really, really fun. And then, of course, we will sell our goods of beverages and sandwiches, grab-and-go salads, and charcuterie to enjoy the event. The event will be projected onto a series of screens that'll be out here on this beautiful green space that's just across the street from the grocery store, and they'll be able to see the chefs go toe-to-toe with this series in this mix bag of beautiful things that I think that you're choosing, Kip, yes? Are you going to choose them?
I wanted to pick y'all's brain because we joked about it on Tuesday's episode, but I was floating the idea to Chris and Eve. It's like, what do we want to give them that really, throws a curveball? And so for those that maybe don't know Spinelli's, I was thinking, let's show a range of all the dankness. Like, y'all, we've spoken ad nauseum about dank-ass deli sandwiches. If y'all don't know, I'm a number one. I think it's the Jerry. It's just a cold-cut Italian. I fucking love cold-cut Italians with olive, all the accoutrements, olive oil, and a little red wine vin. So I was thinking, like, make them use the deli meats in some capacity. Hell, they could do whatever their heart desires. They could pick one meat or not the other. But y'all have so much range for, obviously, those that live in the area. But all three locations service the quick, easy meals. You'll have the basics. And then you also have some of those fun little hodgepodge, like random Swedish fish, local Coca-Colas, or whatever you want to call it. If y'all were going to put an item into the secret box, give me some tips. Let me know what you think would be a fun little curveball for the chefs.
I love our salted capers. We've got a salted caper on
What
the...
an asshole thing to do.
Totally.
I love it.
On the shelf, but I was also thinking...
Lupini beans could be good.
Lupini beans, that's a great idea. And yeah, like a curry paste, maybe yellow or green.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like
Just
that.
to fuck them up.
Yeah.
Now, so I think Tommy would actually probably be like, oh, curry paste? I would love that because he's been doing the uncle pop-up at the block. So Chase would be like, what the hell? But at the same time, you know, maybe we throw a protein in there that he knows specifically that Tommy won't be as, regular with. So we could show some favoritism, be like, how will the creativity go this way? But y'all really are like a charcuterie heaven. Even if you're like bread is not your cup of tea, like y'all have every crudité combo the world could ever want.
Totally.
Shout out to our friends at What Chefs Want. I know they help provide some of those fun vegetables and things of that nature. But y'all have dip spreads, tapenades. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I say it. Thank you. So y'all have given me a lot to think on. So I'm going to have to create a little box of 4 or 5 different items that throw a wrench in the concept. And if Chopped had a baby with supermarket sweep would kind of be the best way to describe this showdown.
Awesome.
We take some influence from the Ophelia's group that did they do the chef showdowns or chef competitions. They do Chopped. But ours is going to be a little bit think on the fly. We'll see exactly what happens, but I like the capers idea.
Yeah, I got it.
I think so too.
That's a real dickhead move, and I'm kind of a dickhead, so throwing that in their box.
I was also thinking anchovy paste, but the salted capers just felt better to me.
An anchovy paste, it screams Caesar salad
does.
too,
That's
and
what
I'm not
we
mad about that.
Right, I love Caesar.
Me too.
Speaking of, you said we'd come back to the Caesar from Hillstone at the end, right?
Okay, so I'm not like, oh, let's go to Hillstone because there's a lot of local restaurants that could be, you could help with. But fuck all. Like, if you're looking for sushi and a salad, I may call Hillstone a top 7 in the world on that. I mean, it's in that same camp of like a Capital Grill that it's just what it is, and I'm not mad at them for existing. And if someone's like, I want to go here, I'm like, I'm not mad about it. I'm just not. It's fucking delicious.
Consistency is everything.
Yeah, what we
It's
say
a
about
7.5 to 8
every time.
Right.
Every single time.
It doesn't matter how you shake it out.
Yep.
They don't miss.
I think the thing that I learned the most was about consistency, and so that's what we bring here to the grocery store sphere. Is just how do we be our best selves? We can't be a mom and pop anymore as we've expanded, and so often we're sort of like rolling with the feelings of the staff that day. And now we're really demanding a lot, just in consistency. We're still humans, but we really want the best to go out to the guest every single day. And if it's not, we want to remake it as often as possible. And that's the Hillstone way. That's what I learned there for sure.
And I mean, the method works, and I live across the big road from Texas Roadhouse, and they're not sitting there claiming that it's the best steak in the city. But what they are saying is that every time you come here, you're going to get the 8-ounce, or 12-ounce sirloin, and the rolls are coming out hot as quickly as you can eat them. I've learned my lesson on that one. The number's like 12. But it's tried, true, and people want what they can get.
Yeah.
As long as you don't do all you can eat shrimp, you'll be fine.
Otherwise,
business model, it turns out it doesn't work.
Right, heard.
I put in an auction bid for that fish tank. I'd have fucking put it in our studio, Eve.
Did you hear Rubio just closed 48 locations in California because of $20 minimum? I mean, the truth is, there are seismic shifts happening in restaurants and food right now. And
Well, the
places.
expectation out to the public too.
It's just different.
Like, labor is different, and the price of what we give back to the guests, we hope that the value is there and the quality is there. But the lower price, or the idea that there's a deal out there that can actually be sustainable, it's a hard sell right now. There's so many places closing because the model doesn't support the ability to pay the wages, and we want to pay everyone a livable wage. It's only fair.
We are talking about regularity and stability, and one thing that's regular with us is our love for our friends over at Pine Melon. They deliver in a 2-hour time window. For our friends in Arvada especially, we don't have the luxury of having a Spinelli's on the west side. Just planting that bug for y'all.
One day.
Yeah, one day. But one thing we always ask our guests before we close up shop is we ask you to take off your work hat or your work shirt, Jake. Let those nips flash. What we want to do is ask y'all just a quick personal question to get to know you a little bit before we get out of here today, if that's all right.
Yes.
All right. Let's say you had a long day. Y'all have opened your third location, second in 9 months. You're tired as all fuck. What is that guilty pleasure late night, I just want to go to sleep after I eat this snack that you can find in your fridge, your freezer, your pantry? Hell, maybe it's a takeout on your way home because it's a hot commodity out here on Colfax. Shout out to Tacos Jr. right down there. And Tacos y Salsa.
Taco Max for the late
The one
night.
with the El Morisco and the faded sign?
Yep.
I like Tacos y Pupusa as well. With
All
the
right,
red.
good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
I mean, there's great food out here, but if there was an old reliable that you can get when you're headed back to Park Hill, 5 Points area, what's y'all's guilty pleasure late night snack?
Go ahead. I have an ice cream problem, and I have for a long time. But since I quit drinking a couple of years back, I'll eat a full meal and an hour later have a full pint of Ben & Jerry's and then think about another half a pint of a different flavor.
I can put down another.
And when you own a grocery store that carries Ben & Jerry's, that's a very dangerous thing because even if we're closed, I can go up and grab one.
I hate that Chris isn't here because that guy, he's got a fat kid on the inside where there's not a pint safe in our studio, in his house. I'm sure his fiance would have testified to that.
I got a fat kid on the outside, so it's an interesting. I'll see if I can get there.
I'm a Classico flavors guy, and Chris likes kind of those fancier bougies, the coffees and the espressos, the stuff with all the mix and match.
Haagen-Dazs, chocolate, peanut butter. That's her favorite.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
What's your guilty late night pleasure? Snack.
This is hard. I don't snack, and I don't want to feel like a square, but I don't do a late night snack.
It's true.
That's fair.
Oh,
That's
phony
true.
Negroni.
Oh, I really love phony Negronis lately.
What is that?
Well, they're I don't drink either, and they're a bitter, non-alcoholic brand. They are to mimic a Negroni, Amaro, or a Mezcal Negroni, and they're so delicious.
Okay.
And right now I'm really into them, just because I like the bitter element to settle my stomach.
Interesting.
I was doing cranberries and tonics for a while there, but there's just too much sugar in them.
Yeah, you can kind of taste it with that concentrate too.
Yeah, totally.
I don't even want it in a topper. It's it just tastes unauthentic right out the goddamn. I'd rather have a maraschino cherry at that point.
Yeah, I think but snacking during the day.
All the Jerry's Nut House is
Jerry's
unbelievable.
Nut House.
I should have just asked her what's your favorite snack to pick on while you're in the market.
Do you know Jerry's Nut House?
No, I don't know if I know.
So this
Wait,
is,
no, is that where I went on my 5150? No. That was a different one.
A different kind of nut house.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Thank you.
I got that. I'm with you.
Jerry's Nut House is a nut roaster. They used to make popcorn when I was a kid, and caramel corn that was just out of this world. But gummies, chocolate covered gummy bears, chocolate covered nuts. I mean, anything you could ask for.
Really healthy snacks.
Right. Malted milk balls with chocolate, and they have had this nut warehouse in Whittier neighborhood in Marion Street and 23rd, 22nd, just near St. Joe's, for 40 years, and they're remodeling it. And so we carry their products, and they are out of this world. I guess you have to go home with some.
Hey,
Covered gummy bears, the orange slices,
the
cherry sours.
Cherry sours.
well, I
They do
mean, let's
Boston
go
baked
in there and
beans.
dine.
All
Let's
right.
go snack.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't thank y'all so much for taking the time. I understand that y'all are in the middle of opening a third location, so breaking away to have a conversation with me and dick around for 30 or 45 minutes, I can't tell you how much I appreciate both of y'all.
We so appreciate you.
Yeah,
I mean,
you said
can't tell you enough.
For years now.
As you point out, like, this has been a bear, and with this thing this weekend, it would have been way too much for us, and you've just handled
Couldn't
it
do it
with
without you.
like kid gloves to deal with all the different parties, and it's going to be awesome. So we really, really appreciate you.
Y'all, we're going to have an absolute blast. So this Sunday at 21 Fitzsimmons apartment, just throw it in the Google. If you don't know how to do it, press the button up top. Tommy will come back there and hit you with the tack hammer. Google 21 Fitzsimmons apartment, 2 to 5 p.m. on Sunday. It's the perfect pregame for anyone trying to do City Park, or City Jazz in the Park. Goodness gracious. We're only a stone's throw from City Park out here. Obviously, there's a closer location of Spinelli's, 2 of them. But with the grand hoorah, we're going to have snacks for days. We're going to have the brewery across the grassy knoll. We'll be doing a little pop-up party as well. So come out here, goof off with us, support local vendors, support the local market, and let's see who can duke it out and come out on top between Chase and Tommy. I mean, I can't wait to talk shit to both of them.
Me too.
It's going to be a blast. But today was a blast as well. Thank you so much, Cece. Thank you so much, Jake. If y'all are looking for the nearest Spinelli's to you, again, Google. There's 3 locations now across the metro. The 21 Fitzsimmons is brand new. The Congress Park is relatively still pulling off that sheen like a PS5. And then the tried and true flagship right there across the way from the Denver Museum of Nature and Science in the Park Hill neighborhood. Y'all have got a great thing going, and I can't tell y'all how much every neighborhood appreciates having y'all in their circle.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate them. It's been such a beautiful, beautiful labor.
Hey,
It's been wonderful.
I get it completely. Until next week, y'all stay high, stay hungry. Cheers, y'all. See you Sunday.